Welcome back to J Podcast from Change Media, the space where we explore the small moments that quietly change how we show up in life. I'm Janine, and today I want to talk about something that has been sitting with me for some time: leading from the heart. What happens when we lead from the heart, but it doesn't quite go the way we hoped? This isn't some theory fluff. It's a story from inside my own company, a story about a young employee, a lot of good intentions, a web of lies, and the hard-won lesson that empathy without boundaries can end up hurting more people than it helps. So here's the story. A few years back, we hired this bright young guy right out of school, sharp, confident, maybe a little bit too much attitude. We saw real potential. So we put him in a role that required a professional certification, meaning he needs to study for it and write an exam online. Like we do for everyone, we supported him fully. Paid study time, covered exam fees, encouragement, all the way. First attempt at the online proctored exam, it didn't go through. He said that a friend walked into the room while writing the exam, and this is considered an automatic violation of the no interruption rule. So the proctor shut it down. No big deal, we thought. We paid for the retake, gave him more time. Second attempt. The proctoring service supposedly couldn't provide an examiner. Whole session canceled. Again, we covered the cost, more time off, best wishes. Third time around, he came back smiling. I passed. We celebrated, big announcement to the team, updated the records, added him to the certified list. Everyone moved on. Fast forward months later, our vice president needed the official certified employee list for a client presentation. So he logged into the site of the organization that provided the certification, and the name wasn't there. We figured it was a glitch. So we placed a support ticket. Their answer came back clean and brutal. This person had never taken the exam, not once, not 3 times, 0 attempts on record. The entire story, every excuse, every reschedule, the enthusiastic I passed was made up. He'd been quietly collecting paid study leave while doing none of the work. My instinct was immediate. This is gross misconduct. Trust is non-negotiable. Termination. But our vice president, someone who's been a parent a lot longer than I have, looked at it differently. He saw a young guy in his first real job who hated studying, panicked about failing, terrified of losing everything. So he made the case for grace. He said, let's give him one real shot to make it right. So we offered a structured second chance, formal written apology, clear lessons learned, and a closely supervised plan to actually earn the certification. He accepted, he wrote a recovery plan. For a little while, it felt like the compassionate choice might actually work. Then the smaller lies crept back in. Missed deadlines with convenient excuses, progress reports that didn't line up with reality, the same pattern, just quieter. Eventually, to make a long story short, the weight of it all, the drain on the morale, the managerial time, the erosion of trust became too much. We parted ways. Looking back, that experience taught me something I'll never forget. Leading from the heart is powerful, but it's not the same thing as being forgiving. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for the team, for the organization, and honestly, for the person themselves, is to set clear boundaries early and mean them. We all want to believe in redemption stories and happy endings. I still do. But real change only happens when the other person is ready to meet you halfway. No amount of empathy can carry someone who isn't willing to walk. Let that sink in. So what does leading from the heart actually look like when it's done well? At its core, leading from the heart is choosing to see people as whole human beings, emotions, struggles, dreams, and all, not just as resources to be managed. When leaders bring genuine care, vulnerability, and emotional intelligence to the table, trust only grows. People feel safe enough to take risks, to innovate, and to bring their best selves. History gives us beautiful examples. Think about Abraham Lincoln in the middle of the war. They called him Father Abraham for a reason. He deliberately built a cabinet full of his political rivals because they were aligned with what the country needs and what matters to the country. He visited soldiers on battlefields. He wrote letters to grieving families. He granted pardons when others wouldn't. That depth of empathy didn't make him weak. It helped him hold a fracturing nation together. And science tells us why this matters. When leaders show empathy, gratitude, and real listening, levels of oxytocin, the trust hormone or the love hormone if you want, rise in both the leader and the team. Research shows high trust workplaces have dramatically lower stress, much higher energy, 50% greater productivity, and significantly less burnout. Leading from the heart works and works well. But here's the shadow side we don't talk about enough. I'm going to share 3 common risks of unchecked compassionate leadership. First, when empathy has no guardrails, it can become the empathy trap. Lowering standards for one person because you feel their pain so deeply, deadlines keep getting extended, excuses keep getting accepted, the team watches, standards slip, resentment builds, and the whole culture suffers. The second one, there is a huge difference between empowering someone and enabling them. Empowering means support plus accountability. Enabling means protecting someone from the natural consequences of their choices, which usually just delays the lesson and rewards the wrong behavior. Brené Brown says it perfectly. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And sometimes kindness is exploited. And that brings us to the third risk, manipulation and exploitation. There are people who learn to use a compassionate leader's heart as a vulnerability, fabricating stories, delivering emotional performances and cinema, buying more time. These 3 risks from leading from the heart are real. But the answer is not to stop being empathetic. It's to pair heart with discernment. It's to trust but verify. You know who said that? Trust but verify. I'm not gonna tell you here, so drop it in the comment. So it's trust but verify. That means building simple systems, dashboards, regular structured check-in, peer feedback, so you're not relying only on someone's word. It means watching for patterns early, inconsistent stories, constant deflection, emotional appeals that always seem to arrive right when accountability is due. We need to give a second chance wisely. When a second chance really is warranted, make it smart. Co-create a clear, time-bound plan with measurable milestones and defined consequences. You can bring HR or a neutral third party for objectivity. Grace should have edges. And over the long term, the strongest heart-centered cultures are intentional from day one. Hire for emotional intelligence and values alignment, on board with real human connection, but clear expectation. Celebrate both results and character, integrity, collaboration, empathy, resilience. So here's what I carry forward from that tough chapter. Lead with heart, absolutely, but lead with both heart and spine. Because real compassion sometimes means having the courage to say no early. So the whole team and even the person who needs the boundary can grow into who they're capable of becoming. Thanks for being here with me today. If you've ever wrestled with the tension between empathy and accountability, I'd love to hear your story. Drop me a note, share it in the comments. Those conversations matter. If this story resonated, subscribe to J Podcast for more tales and lessons from the startup trenches. Share it with other founders, drop us a review, and tag Change Media on socials to let us know what you think. Next episode, we'll dive into another moment from my journey. Until then, keep shining, stay awesome, and check out J Academy, where you learn to lead with heart and stand with backbone. See you next time.